Hey guys, I did my book report on The Abolition of Man by C.S. Lewis. My name's Matthew, and I hope to get this done. Okay, so let's get started. Let's take away all objective reality. Now we live in a world where murder is okay, and rape is an acceptable practice. Life does not matter, and the rule of law is extinct. Values are changed on a whim, and whatever I believe is true and valuable does not mean that the next person would value the same things. This all may sound a bit extreme, but in the book of The Abolition of Man, C.S. Lewis lays out just how it could happen in our society. It could start from one green book teaching our youth, then lead to the extremes that were just mentioned. Clive Staples Lewis, the author of Abolition of Man, was born in 1898 in Belfast, Ireland. At the young age of 9, his mother died, and he was then sent to boarding school, where at the age of 13, he abandoned his Christian faith for atheism. Then at 19, he enlisted in the British Army to fight in the Great War, or World War I as we call it today. And within 18 months, he was wounded in battle and discharged, all before his 21st birthday. Once out of the British Army, Lewis began to write, and in 1925 he was appointed English Fellow of Magdalen College in Oxford, where he tutored English and literature. In 1930, after Lewis' father died, he converted back to Christianity. C.S. Lewis would go on to publish over 30 books, awarded an honorary doctorate of divinity by the University of St. Andrews, and was unanimously elected to the chair of medieval and Renaissance literature at Cambridge University, a position he held until he retired. In 1961, Lewis was diagnosed with kidney inflammation, and in November of '63 he died. C.S. Lewis's contribution to not only literature but to Christianity is undeniable. Lewis' most distinguished and popular accomplishments include Mere Christianity, Out of the Silent Planet, The Great Divorce, The Screwtape Letters, and the universally acknowledged classics and the Chronicles of Narnia. To date, the Narnia books have sold over 100 million copies and have been transformed into 3 major motion pictures. Lewis was a teacher, philosopher, and is one of the most influential writers of the 20th century. Lewis' writings are still today answering questions and helping lead people to Christianity. Men Without Chess. I doubt whether we are sufficiently attentive to the importance of the elementary textbooks. This was the starting point to changing minds and the starting point to change the world. The Green Book asked students to differentiate between 2 feelings about a waterfall, sublime and pretty, stating that one, pretty, was correct while sublime was not. When the man said, "This is sublime," he appeared to be making a remark about the waterfall, but actually he was not making a remark about the waterfall, but a remark about his own feelings. Lewis correctly pointed out, the man who says this is sublime cannot mean I have sublime feelings. And the feelings which make a man call an object sublime are not sublime feelings, but feelings of veneration. Lewis then points out that this is an unattainable standard to make and keep. What is troubling is that the school children read this chapter and learn that all sentences containing a predicate of value are statements about the emotional state of the speaker, and that the statements are unimportant. Children will learn all emotions aroused by local association are in themselves contrary to reason and contemptible. This is the beginning of subjective reality. If feelings are really not feelings, then is anything really anything? Lewis then contemplates what would happen if this kind of reality was intentionally taught in schools and the educators were trying to debunk emotion and make a clean sweep of traditional values and start a new set. Aristotle says that the aim of education is to make the pupil like and dislike what he ought. If this is true, then teachers hold almost complete authority to how the world will be when their pupils come of age. How can teachers argue for one set of rules in class and then say another set apply when their pupils get out into the real world? Lewis closes with, we make men without chests and expect them virtue and enterprise. We laugh at honor and are shocked to find traitors in our midst. This last quote sums up our world today as we know it. The way. using the Chinese word Tao for the realm of objective value as the basis for traditional morality. We can say that modern humanity is adopting subjectivism, has assumed a position outside of Tao. We have no instinctive urge to keep promises or to respect individual life. That is why scruples of justice and humanity, in fact the Tao, can be properly swept away when they conflict with our real end, the preservation of the species. The Tao is the sole source of all value judgments, and if rejected, then all value is rejected. But if any is retained, then all must be retained as well. Any attempt to discard the Tao and introduce new values must be based on fragments for the Tao itself, arbitrarily wrenched from their context in the whole, and then swollen to madness in their isolation, yet still owing to the Tao and to it alone such validity as they possess. The human mind has no power of inventing a new value than imagining a primary color or creating a new sun or a new sky for it to move in. Aristotle said only those who have been well brought up can usefully study ethics. To the corrupt man, the man who stands outside the Tao, the very starting point is invisible, and an open mind in questions that are not ultimate is useful, but an open mind about the ultimate foundations, either of theoretical or practical reason, is idiocy. The abolition of man, man's conquest of nature, is an expression often used to describe the progress of applied science. However, since man is a part of nature, any power won by man is a power over man as well. What we call man's power over nature turns out to be a power exercised by some men over other men, with nature as its instrument. An example of that is birth control, where a generation of men is exercising their own power over future generations to come. Human nature will be man's last conquest, and since man is a part of nature, nature will then conquer man. The point is made. Those who stand outside of all judgments of value cannot have any ground of preferring one of their own impulses over the other, except the emotional strength of that impulse. C.S. Lewis makes a great argument as to how selective reasoning is used and kind of foreshadowed what the world would look like today. C.S. Lewis is sometimes hard to follow, and I had to be reminded a few times of the words he used in his day in the early 1900s are completely different and has a different contextual meaning than what we use in the early 20th century or in the early 21st century. And then there's the British and American verbiage as well. That was a bit confusing at first, but once you got the hang of it, it was okay. While it seemed pretty smart to start with the Green Book criticism, he makes the argument that most could follow. While selective reasoning is and always will be around, to some extent, there will always be a Tao to guide humanity. We continue to make advances in science, but we should never advance so far as to bring what it is to be humanity down. That was my paper. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I really enjoyed reading C.S. Lewis's book. I hope everybody gets a chance this summer and finds time to read it. Like I said, it was kind of difficult at first, but once we got the hang of it, it was a pretty good read. Hope y'all guys have a great rest of the semester and good luck on the finals, guys. God bless.